Well, TSR has done it again. They've managed to find a way to piss off the original artists. Hello and welcome. I am Cindershadow, and today we're going to talk about the TSR debacle that continues to just keep on giving. TSR, I've covered this in other videos. They filed a lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast for the use of some logos, and it seems the original creator of said logos are now speaking out against TSR and Justin LaNasa in the use of using this logo. So the original person that made the logo with the copyright is saying, no, you can't use it. So this would have been some time before the new lawsuit went into place. Darlene Artist is the name that they go by on Facebook. In December, I finally reviewed the contract Justin LaNasa wanted me to sign. That's when I took a stand and I gave this answer. I prefer not to be directly involved in any way with your lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast. Therefore, I do not give permission to use the wizard head logo you see below me with the dragonfire. For the longest time, I tried to remain neutral, aloof, and unaffected. I wanted to avoid being associated with the bombastic claims of the new TSR. JL, Justin LaNasa, first responded with a denial. We are not planning on having you in the lawsuit. This is why we ask your permission. Then a guilt trip. We really tried to bring back something good with TSR. Then played the underdog card. It seems like Wizards of the Coast and the supporters have a lot of fear and swaying amongst the industry. That is not the case, Justin. What you're playing a game with Wizards of the Coast and people are seeing right through it, and this one artist is now speaking out against it, and I don't blame them. It's upsetting. If JL thought I would be stupid enough to sign a contract without reading or comprehending it. In my response, I referred him to item 3, which obligates me to defend his position in Wizard of the Coast lawsuit. So you have to write up a contract to put in a clause saying they have to defend your position. No, that's not how these contracts work. People are allowed to have their own opinions. There is no reason to put that type of language in there unless you're doing something wrong. Pressure they are putting on me to reconsider has increased. Ernie Gaiax thinks granting my permission for them to use the logo, which, by the way, they are already using anyway, is key to them successful arbitration. He intimidated if I don't give in, sign away my rights, and take their money, I'd be hurting some people I really care about. He also suggested I can up the ante for double the amount initially offered. So they're trying to buy more favor from this artist of the original logo. JL has since proposed to work out a contract that excludes me from the lawsuit. He's been very nice and cordial to me throughout. Nevertheless, the contract will most likely retain the first sentence where I declare that I have not previously transferred my rights to any entity or party. What, as I understand it, logos don't work that way. First use, I think there's a first use doctrine when it comes to copyright, and then trademarks get involved. This is a very strange scenario in the laws of copyright and trademark. Copyright seems to supersede anything to do with the trademarking ultimately, and trademarking just affords you extra protections against things like this. The most important thing to me has not been addressed. As a visual thinker and logo designer, I am very particular in the nuances of what I create. Yes, I designed original Wizard Head logo back in the 80s. I do not dispute. However, the logo produced as Exhibit 8 in JL's contract is not my logo. It's a bastardization, a grayed out, fuzzy, lesser version of what I designed and detest the spindly letters used for the game wizards. Ugh. Well, first off, Justin LaNasa is also a tattoo artist. And I know there is, with tattoo artists, some of them that get on their high horse, like Justin has done here. They believe if they reproduce a sketch of a drawing, they then own the copyright to that. But when you make a facility, like when you copy it, that's the whole purpose of copyright. Why copying something in this manner can land you in hot water with the powers that be. The courts are not going to side with you. You know, if you're making this logo and you're tattooing it on someone, is it worth the money and value for someone to go after that tattoo artist that probably made $200 on doing the work and putting it on their back? Is it worth a company to protect their copyright in that sense? No. However, this comes back to, I tried to even get Zelda like Triforce patches for my backpack when I was in high school. And companies that I talked to, they said, I don't own the copyright to it, so they can't do it, because then they could mass produce it. That's the difference here. From a tattooer to mass production of copyright laws. That's why this is such a big deal and why they're going to get completely stomped. Therefore, I cannot honestly take money for it because I do not and I will not claim it as mine. I'm extremely picky about choosing my clients. Before I would consider designing a new logo for the new TSR, they would have to demonstrate ethical behavior as a business entity. And what they're doing with this, playing games with copyrights, trademarks, trying to dangle these things in front of Wizards of the Coast and saying, we've got you over a barrel. You guys need to give us everything that we're asking for here. And Wizards of the Coast is just going to look at them and go, what, really? Like, what are you guys doing? You're just making a headache for yourselves. And at this point, people are not going to side with you. You're trying to draw this line and no one wants to be on either side of it. Ever since they appeared on the scene, the new TSR has been plucking the heartstrings of those who fondly remember the good old days when the hobby was in its infancy. JL lofty words to honor and remember TSR, the Dragon, Gary, and the alumni of the old days of gaming sound inspiring, but I remain unmoved. I never want to return to Lake Geneva to relive those good old days. Well, I've had great days of role-playing myself, and honestly, to go back and try and replay those same scenarios, it doesn't work. You got to go to something new. If I were to endorse the new TSR, they would have to correct the mistakes of the old TSR. Well, that's the thing. Correcting the mistakes of an older entity or an older company, that's something really hard to do for a new version of them that isn't the same. Like that, these are far apart from one to new. Like that's the big thing that a lot of people aren't getting. There must be kinder and more generous to artists and authors to their employ. They would show proper respect, listen to, and honor women, both within gaming field and as consumers. Okay, where is this going? This seems to be going somewhere that I'm not quite understanding. They would be more inclusive and sensitive enough to address the needs of individuals beyond the white male demographic. What? Are you kidding me? They would be fair to their customers and transparent in their actions. I'm sorry. Going into the race baiting, the sexist stuff, what are you doing? This is not, like, this is the artist. Where is your headspace in this? Or what have you been told? Besides, the idea of me endorsing TSR, new or old, is laughable. Not always, but in general, I have not had a positive experience freelancing for TSR. Looking from the outside in, I witness how the growth spurs of TSR turned it from being an all-for-one and one-for-all company into an uncaring corporate entity with an us versus them mindset. With few exceptions, success brought out the worst in those TSR people given positions of authority. I witnessed how the creativities got the brunt of TSR unfair predatory policies, No, I do not yearn to return to that stressful, hostile, and toxic environment. Ow. I know, like, we're seeing things like Paizo forming unions. We're seeing people banding together because there has been like a knockdown on the artists and the storytellers, ultimately what's going on. And a lot of people are saying, no, I've had enough. I need to get my fair shake. And that's what part of that is. My memories of TSR are clear because they are frozen to the time I needed to leave Lake Geneva for my own mental health and well-being. I turned my back on the growing number of small-minded TSR people who created and spread malicious rumors and hurtful lies about me, made me feel unwelcome whenever I visited the building, told me my art was not very good, and caused me to doubt myself and my abilities. Wow, that's really unfortunate. I left to pursue knowledge, my MFA, and the prospect of new beginnings with no intention of returning. Gary Gygax contacted me in 2005 and coaxed me back. That's when he and I became fast friends. In the years since, I've discovered, for the most part, nothing much has changed for females in the gaming world, i.e. gamer... What? Gamergate. Hold on. TSR, unfair internal practices, abusing creativities financially, seem to have followed the RPG industry. How do I know? Having worked as a professional in the real world since 1984, I'm aware of many disparities. Okay, Gamergate is a completely, like, there is two sides to Gamergate. And the one side of Gamergate is people saying, oh, it was hate against women in gaming, and all these people banded against them. And then the other side of Gamergate was journalists posting lies about games and being paid off to review games in the most inappropriate way. And it was lies to the public, lies to the consumer. And that is the real side of Gamergate. Was the gamers stood up and told those journalists, listen, quit lying to us because we know what's going on with the games. We can see it. And invoking Gamergate here has no details whatsoever in the parallels of what this is. If you're saying you're being harassed, and that's what the side of Gamergate that you believe, when Gamergate, even the FBI said there was no harassment campaign for Gamergate on record. There was no fault of these people standing up to journalists that were telling lies. Today I decided publicly share my power of no, because I recognize this as a teachable moment for those dispossessed. Charged with 42 years of suppressed emotional pain, no, my no is big and empowering. It includes no to bullying and unethical business practices, no to the unfair treatment and compensation of artists, creatives, and women, and no to taking advantage of the disadvantage to profit at their expense. I understand where you're coming from, because it looks like that you in the past were very hurt by them using your artwork in a disparaging way, in not being compensated properly. So there probably is something there. But at the same time, as long as everyone's getting their fair share, what's the problem? My no is also cathartic to me. With it, I officially reclaim those lost parts of myself and abandoned so long ago. To have the courage to take this stance, my desire for money had to be relinquished. Only then could I clearly understand the implications of what saying yes meant. As tempting as a yes would be, it's ultimately disempowering. Well, okay, hear me roar. That's what I'm getting out of that. Compromising my integrity for money is the same as selling my soul, and I understand that too. There is, I haven't gotten really many offers for sponsorships on the channels, but I gotta tell you, I probably will be very picky at what I do if we ever get to that point where people want to sponsor the channel. Therefore, I choose to continue living like I always have. Modestly, I choose not to allow temporary feelings of depression or desperation or depression, sorry, I read that the wrong way, to rule me or compromise the greater truth of who I am. Perhaps I should credit JL for catalyzing my healing process and helping me demonstrate what feminine power looks like. Oh my god. Okay, well, first off, I gotta say, invoking Gamergate, this has nothing to do with Gamergate. Gamergate is a completely separate entity. It sounds like you were drastically hurt in the past by what happened with old TSR, however, you became best friends with Gary Gygax. So I find that very, very odd in itself. What I've seen here, this is something that I was lamenting to with Justin LaNasa and TSR, and the logos they're using. People have said straight up, this is no, you guys do not have the actual rights from these artists. You don't have the reason to use this, and there is nothing else there. Going the whole woman hear me roar feminist angle, sure. I think you still had a lot of good points there, Darlene. I think you still have a case there to say no in this without those points. I really don't think that was part of where it really had to go. Full disclosure here, when I was early on in this situation with TSR, they sent an NDA at me, and I questioned, why in the world would you want me under an NDA? They were offering me to do interviews with some of the people in and around TSR, and I just kind of sat there and went, I don't need an NDA to do a live stream interview. Like, if I did an interview, it would have been live streamed, and there's no reason to sign an NDA. And it looks like here, in the wording that they gave Darlene in her contract, was part of that contract would be you have to pick this side and stay on TSR. Myself, I like to be in the middle. I like to walk the line, because then I can see both sides of the coin and see what's going on here. And I gotta say, the artist saying no, that's fine. The artist invoking Gamergate, that's completely wrong. What's going on with Justin LaNasa and TSR and them trying to make claim on old logos that absolutely make no sense in my mind, nothing more than what looks like a scam. The drawing this line in the sand and saying you're with us or against us, no, no, no. Ultimatums don't work in cases like this. That's what the courts are here to decide. The courts are going to be the ones that are going to sit there and say yes or no. And I have a funny feeling this is going to get tossed out of court, and the judge is going to put on things saying that they can't refile, and they're going to throw the book at them, especially now considering Chris Cox, the CEO of Wizards of the Coast, is now the CEO of Hasbro, and he's going to put a boot up their ass for even attempting this. Anyway, guys, this is your proud Canadian Phoenix signing off. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.